Good evening. My name is Courtney Jackson Jr. and this video is to address the Trayvon Martin disaster. First off, and most importantly, I want to give the Martin family my deepest condolences. I want you all to know that you are not alone and that millions of Americans, including myself, stand with you in the face of this horrific event. To Trayvon, I want to wish that you rest in peace and fly high, my brother. I've heard about this situation in bits and pieces for weeks now, and it has sent people into an outrage. Being the person that I am, I never like to weigh in on anything that I am not fully cognizant about. With that being said, I finally sat down, read, and listened to the news reports and 911 calls for myself, and I must say that I am completely disgusted. This situation is a complete travesty, and it is a clear and blatant sign of one of the most sickening things to ever be known to man: racism. In my mind, racism is an atrocious disease of the mind, a disease so powerful that it causes so many people in the world today to be filled with hate and prejudice, and a disease so powerful that it causes so many people like Trayvon to lose their lives. Why? Because a person is not of the same ethnic background? Because a person's skin color is different? These reasons are irrelevant and just downright trifling. Why does it matter if one person is African American? Why does it matter if someone is Caucasian? Why does it matter if someone is of Latin descent? Why does it matter if someone is Indian or Native American or anything? Honestly, ask yourself, does any of that really matter? The answer is no. However, there is one thing that does matter, and it is the simple fact that no matter what ethnic background we come from, no matter what race we are, and no matter who we are all living, breathing human beings. Each one of our lives is important, and we all have a purpose. Why must we live in this constant cycle of hate and prejudice? Why must we hate that which is different from ourselves? Last time I checked, I lived in a world full of differences, full of choices. From the type of music that I listen to, all the way down to the type of food that I eat. Look at the United States of America. This country thrives off of differences. The U.S. is known as the melting pot. This is a country full of different cultures, people, and ideas. Look around you. Nothing is the same. And more importantly, nothing comes from one particular place. Trayvon Martin was a completely innocent 17-year-old African American male walking down the streets of his neighborhood headed home. As stated by his own teachers, he was an A and B student who majored in cheerfulness. While walking home, Trayvon was in possession of several items. The items in his possession were a bag of Skittles and a bottle of tea. He was wearing jeans, white tennis shoes, and a hoodie. Correct me if I'm wrong, but none of those items sound like a weapon to me. Trayvon, who was unaware at first, was being stalked by the man who calls himself George Zimmerman. Zimmerman was a self-appointed neighborhood watch captain. Before I go even any further, stop and let that marinate. A self-appointed neighborhood watch captain? In other words, he gave himself that title and had possessed no authority whatsoever. This man purposefully stalked Trayvon from his car. On top of that, he called the police, and the police dispatcher clearly asked him, was he following Trayvon? Zimmerman replied, yes. And the police dispatcher clearly stated, do not follow him. Yet and still, he continued to pursue him. Zimmerman was also riding around with a concealed weapon. He was carrying a gun. Zimmerman would then get out of the car and attack Trayvon. In the 911 calls, you can hear Trayvon screaming for help at the top of his lungs. Does this sound like he provoked Zimmerman in any shape, fashion, or form? No. Zimmerman provoked Trayvon and then proceeded to shoot and kill him. Trayvon was completely helpless. He had done no wrong and deserved no wrong to be done to him. After the police arrived, Zimmerman lied and hid behind the false pretense and facade that he shot Trayvon out of self-defense. This man had the audacity and the gall to lie to the police and say that he murdered this innocent young man out of self-defense. However, there's still no evidence to prove that statement to this day. To make matters worse, Trayvon died of John Doe for 3 days and was tested for drugs and alcohol. No one canvassed the neighborhood to see if anyone there knew him. However, Zimmerman was not tested for anything. He was questioned and released, and he is still free today. I am ashamed that this is the type of world that we live in. Now, I have no animosity towards any other race. But it's as if being a young black individual is a curse. It's as if we're damned. It's almost as if our lives have no significance. Time and time and time again, we are the subject of discrimination, hate crimes, and prejudice. For what? Something that we cannot control. The color of our skin. Actor and rapper Will Smith stated in one of his tweets, "We live in a world where a girl that threw flour on Kim Kardashian was arrested on sight. But the man who killed Trayvon Martin is still free." Honestly, it's a shame, but I couldn't have said it any better myself. Will Smith stated pure truth. And it leads to my question. When will it stop? When will the madness end? When will the sickness known as racism be obliterated? Trayvon could have been me. Trayvon could have been anyone's child. If this travesty happened to your child, regardless of what race you are, you would be highly pissed. Not only would you be pissed, you would be wounded. You will be mortified. Think of the damage done to his family. Think of the damage done to his friends, his community. Trayvon was important and he had rights. My life, your life, or anyone's is no more important than Trayvon's life was. And now his life is lost to the sickness of the mind known as racism. Justice needs to be served swiftly and expeditiously. This is the time to act. This is the time to collectively stand. They say if you don't stand for something, that you will fall for anything. Well, this is what we need to stand for. We need to stand for Trayvon. We need to stand for justice. We need to stand to end racism. It does not matter what race you are. Each and every one of us are humans. And while we may be different from one another, we can all learn from each other and our differences. And by learning from each other and by learning from our differences, we can become greater. We can become better than what we are today. Hear my plea. Hear my cry. Stand up for Trayvon. Stand up for justice. Stand up to end racism. And most importantly, stand up to make this world that we live in a better place. For me, for you, for the children, for the future. If we don't stand now, things will only get worse. Things will only become more devastating. This is the time for us to stand. This is the time for us to unite. This is the time for our voices to be heard as one. We are all connected in this world. No matter how you look at it, we are all connected. We all go through some form of trial and tribulation. We can't do everything on our own. We must stand together. It doesn't matter if you're black. It doesn't matter if you're white. It doesn't matter if you're of Latin descent. It doesn't matter if you're Indian, Native American, Puerto Rican. It doesn't matter what you are. What matters is that we are humans. We were all created by God. We are all brothers and sisters. Let's stop this foolishness. Let's end this sickness. Let's end this disease of the mind known as racism. Let's end it today. Let's stand today. Let's form a front today. We live in this world every day, and every day comes a new challenge. Life is already short enough as it is. Why must we go through life with foolishness? Why must we hate one another based on our skin color? Why can't we be judged by the contents of our characters instead? Dr. King died for this back in 68. It is 2012. It is time for a change. There's a definition for insanity, and that definition is doing the same things, expecting different results. We're doing the same thing now. Let's change. Let's switch it up. Let's do something different so that we can get different results. Again, this situation was a complete travesty. Let's stand for Trayvon. Let's stand for justice. And let's stand to end racism. Thank you.